Hello everybody, it's that Warhipster here coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting Plaguebearers of Nurgle. We are doing the entire unit, but I'm going to be basically referencing these three because, well, we've got the musician, we've got the banner, and we've got the leader, sergeant. I think he's called the Plague Ridden. Anyway, we're going to just jump right in and start painting. They've been primed in Wraithbone because we want that nice warm look, and well, we're going to put these two to one side. I'm just going to focus on him for the moment, but we are going to be doing this on all three, and the colour we're going to be using is Plaguebearer Flesh. We're just going to be loading up our brush here, because basically what we want to do is we want to paint this all over the miniature, including over any boils and welts, any bones, everywhere. Places to avoid areas like the wood of the banner, the kind of collection of heads that this guy's carrying, and the sword. As you can see, that Plaguebearer Flesh just goes on so nicely and is, well, it would have been rude not to use Plaguebearer Flesh on Plaguebearers of Nurgle. So here we go. I'm just getting it all over. Just really whacking it on there. These models are so full of texture and recesses and things like that, that actually the paint just flows really nicely across the model. So we don't have to be too methodical, we can just whack it on there pretty quickly. Just like this. So with that Plaguebearer Flesh applied all over our Plaguebearers, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Snakebite Leather, and we're going to use this to paint in the horns. And we're going to do this basically by taking some Snakebite Leather on our brush, and we want to effectively paint the whole of the horn, but we want to then kind of feather it out a little bit so it's got a nice kind of smooth transition into the Plaguebearer Flesh. Just going to grab a little bit more Snakebite Leather than that, and we're just going to pick a horn to start on. So I'm just going to do it on this one here. I'm just going to paint this Snakebite Leather all over the horned area, like that. Grab a little bit more. Do this one too. Just like this. Then what we do is we wash the brush, and just where that Plaguebearer Flesh and the Snakebite Leather meet, we're just going to kind of dab at the transition area with a clean brush, like that, just to smooth out that transition, like so. So it kind of fades up into the Snakebite Leather, like that. So we're just going to go over and do this on the rest of the horns. So we've got one here, of course. And we've similarly got the other sides, the ones we've already done. Wash the brush. Just feather out that transition there, like that. Then we go on to the back. We can do this area down here as well, because on this particular Plaguebearer, all of that looks like horn to me. And so with that Snakebite Leather applied, what we then do is we take some black Templar and we do much the same thing over the tops of the horns, only we don't go the whole way down. So on this one, what we're going to do is we're just going to start at the tip there. I'm going to come down to around about sort of that kind of area there. I'm going to wash the brush, and I'm going to once again just kind of feather out that transition just a little bit, and just dabbing away at it with a clean brush, just kind of, as I say, just smoothing out that transition like that. I'm just going to do that on all of the horns. So similarly on that front one there, I'm just going to do about 3/4 of it. Wash the brush, and then just feather out that transition like that. Same on the other side. Wash the brush. And just absorb, kind of stipple away at that paint until you lift off as much as you want to, like so. So with that done, you should have some Plaguebearers that look something like this. They're already looking pretty cool. So what we're going to do is going to continue on, and the colour we're going to be using still is Black Templar. And we're going to be using this to paint in a number of different details. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this to paint in the sword. And we want to go all over the sword here. We just want to load up our brush with Black Templar and just whack it all over. And it's a nice big single thick coat of Black Templar all over the blades. Just like this, as well as the handle. We're just going to finish off the sword. Just like this. Like that. And on this Plaguebearer, what we also want to do is we want to colour in his teeth. Like so, as well as his toes. Just be on the lookout for any other ones on the backs of the ankles. Nope. And what we also want to do is we want to colour in the hair by which he's holding up this gaggle of skulls. Or heads, I should say. They're not skulls yet. just like this. I want to do the same thing on our other Plaguebearers as well. So with that done, you should have some Plaguebearers that look somewhat like this. Let's see if we can get the back end of them. Yep, there we go. Not a lot's happened to the backs so far. But what we are going to do now is we're going to start doing all of those little tiny details. And the first colour we're going to be using is Magos Purple. Now, with the Magos Purple, what we're going to do is we're going to cover over about 50% of the boils, which might seem slightly arbitrary amount, but what we want to do is we just want to kind of take a small amount of this Magos Purple on our brush and just start picking out individual ones at random around the miniatures. Again, over the top of the Plaguebearer Flesh. And we don't want to colour over all of them, as I said. We want to go over roughly about 50% of them. It can be slightly less, it can be slightly more. It is entirely up to you how many you colour over like this. You just want to kind of take it a facing at a time. Until you're happy. So I'm reasonably happy with this kind of area. So what I'll do now is just move it back around that way and start colouring over some more. I'm reasonably happy with it from that angle. Just check on this arm. Yep. Going to do that one there, and we'll do these two. Just got a boil there and a boil there, like that. You just want to be quite methodical at this point, so that you, well, basically so that you don't miss any, but also just familiarises yourself with the Plaguebearer a little bit more. Like that. I think I'm reasonably happy with that. Just do one more here, like so. And so with that Magos Purple applied, what we're then going to do is going to take some Nazdreg Yellow. I'm going to use this to colour in the rest of the boils and sores. All over our Plaguebearers. As well as the eyes. Just like this. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Volupus Pink. I'm going to use this to colour in any open wounds, any open kind of, well, I guess the sores, but like any of the areas, like, for example, just here on this guy's leg. So just there. So we're going to add this Volupus Pink over the top, like this. We're also going to use this over the top of any gums that you can see. So some of them have got like teeth on their bellies. And we're also going to use this on any of the guts and things like that. So you just want to go around with the Volupus Pink like this, picking out all of these areas. And then we'll come back. So with that Volupus Pink applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some blood for the blood god. I'm going to paint this over the guts and things like that. So we're just going to work this in here, like this. We've got some on this leg here, which we're just going to turn to our advantage. Just make it look bloody and horrible. You can paint this into all of those areas that we've added the Volupus Pink. You can use as much or as little of this as you like. It's entirely up to you. A little bit of overlap is absolutely fine. You can even add some little traces of it kind of dripping down off of these areas. Like so. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to paint in the various heads. Now we've got 3 here, and we've got 3 up here. And we're going for a really horrible kind of shrunken, old skin style here. And the colour we're going to be using is GRYPH-CHARGER Grey. All we want to do is we just want to load up our brush and just start painting it all over these heads. Just like this. And with that done, we're then going to use some Skeleton Horde. I'm going to use this to paint in the pipes and the skulls on the banner. So we'll do it on the pipes to demonstrate. So we've got the pipes just here. We want to get this Skeleton Horde all over. Just like this. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is going to use some Wyldwood. I'm going to use this to paint in the staff of the banner. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to use this to paint in the silver parts of the standard. So this is going to include kind of the fields. And by fields, what I mean is like kind of like the background areas. So we've got this little section just here. We've got this little section just here as well. And down here as well. Like so. Similarly on the back, we've got the large triangle device. As well as the clasps going over the banner pole itself. And that sort of thing. And in addition, what we're going to do is going to use this to paint in the areas around the skulls. But don't worry about getting on like this kind of spiky trim. It's okay if we get it on that, because that's going to be a different metallic. We do want to just focus on getting it on these areas around each of the skulls. Like so. And with that done, what we're now going to do is going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. I'm going to use this to paint in the bell and the trim on the banner, as well as the kind of weighting spike pommel type thing down here at the bottom. Someone clearly agrees. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is going to use some Fyreslayer Flesh. I'm going to use this to shade all of the metallics. This is going to give us a lovely kind of rusty silver, also quite a darkened brass. Like so. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is going to take some black Templar. I'm going to use this to paint in all of the little kind of strings and things that are kind of sewing up these unfortunate souls' eyes and mouths. And then after this is done, we're then going to use the Nazdreg Yellow and the Magos Purple to also paint in the few little kind of boils and buboes on the heads on both this guy and on our Sergeant, the Plague Ridden, I believe it's called. Still haven't figured it out. Or at least, still can't remember. So with that all done, it is time to add some highlights. And as you can see, I've already started on these guys. So what we're going to do is we can demonstrate on on the Plague Ridden. And well, the first colour we're going to be using is Deepkin Flesh. Now we're going to be using this to highlight all of the Plaguebearer's skin. So, for example, just here on his chest, got the nipple, a little bit there, and we've got these kind of ribbed areas. Well, I say ribbed areas, they are in fact the Plaguebearer's ribs. So I'm going to be highlighting all of the skin just by picking out the sharpest features in it. Like so. What we're also going to do with the Deepkin Flesh is we're going to use this to highlight the blades. And we don't want loads on our brush here. We just want this to be a very narrow highlight, picking out all of the edges on all of the plague swords. Just like this. And so that Deepkin Flesh applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm going to use this to add a little dot to all of our boils and pimples and things like that. Make them look like they're about ready to burst. Just like this. So with that done, you should have some Plaguebearers that look somewhat like this. They're looking really, really awesome. So we're just going to do the last few things to finish them off now. Now, the first one we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to use this to add the pupil to their eyes. And we only want a small, tiny, tiny amount of this. We just want to add a little dot of it right in the middle. Of each eyeball. Just like this. So with that done, this guy is now finished. So we can pop him to one side. And what we're going to do now is going to take some Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to highlight the skulls on the banner. Up here like that. And we're also going to use it, we've got to do the other skull, but before we do that, we're also going to demonstrate that we're going to be using the Screaming Skull to highlight the pipes on our musician. Just by picking out those sharp details at the end. Just like this. So with that done, our Piper is now finished. There he is. So we're going to pop him to one side. And now we're going to use some Rakarth Flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight the wood of the staff. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Iron Hand Steel. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our metallics, because we don't want like a nice clean bright coppery metallic highlight for the brassy areas. We want it to look a little bit kind of like it's almost flaked away a little bit towards the ends. Just like this. See, it gives it that kind of appearance of being brighter, but not being like a super bright brass. Just like that. And once this is done, all that's left to do is to base them in the same style as the rest of your army. And there we have it. Our Plaguebearers of Nurgle are all finished, ready to spread disease and, well, bring the gift of life to all corners of the mortal realms and the 41st millennium. I think they look absolutely disgusting, which is perfect, because that's exactly what we're going for with Nurgle miniatures. And yeah, it seemed rude not to use Plaguebearer Flesh on Plaguebearers. Not sure why. But I think it's very effective and it looks amazing. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.